What's up, guys? It is MercRS back with another CV video, and in this one we are going to be talking about the CV rework. Yes, am I late? Am I late? Yeah, I know I've been gone for a bit here on making content, but that's my style, right? I don't try to pump out vids all the time. I'm just talking about it when I got time and when I got the energy too. So I'm not going to be going line by line of what was tested, as that's been out for a while, and I'm sure you've seen other videos that have covered all that. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about my general thoughts on the rework, how the implementation went, how the different mechanics felt, what I liked and disliked about them, and my thoughts on what else should be considered in future tests. General thoughts. So first up, general thoughts. Overall, I really did not like this test for a number of different reasons. First, overall, I don't think it was clearly laid out what type of feedback they were trying to get from the community. I don't know how their data collection is going with this, but it didn't seem like anything could be used. For example, in the survey that was sent out, it was asked, did your tactics for fighting aircraft carriers change during the test? Another question was, how did your aircraft tactics change during the test? I don't know how you can answer this when you're playing 4v4, 6v6 with 2 CVs on both sides. Adding the bots to the second half of the test didn't really help at all, because they don't play anything like people. So the tactics of flying a certain way to spot destroyers was completely ignored, for me anyway. Throw in a couple of different errors and bugs, fighters being able to spot for the first portion of the test. It just all contributed to a very messy situation. I think it would have been great if they clearly laid out in a video and in their news releases and in their streams examples of what they are testing and what they want you to think about. A lot of feedback I saw was around, oh, this is going to help Soviet CVs, or the damage was ridiculous now, or the manual secondary range is way too crazy, this is stupid. This test was supposed to be about how the interactions felt with the new mechanics. So yeah, I did not like how the test was handled. Maybe they could have given more rewards for people to play it, I don't know. Now, how it felt. Using all these mechanics, it was definitely different, and not in a good way. I tried battleship, aircraft carrier, and cruisers. I don't think I tested a destroyer, and if I did, maybe it was once. I'm going to tackle each of these sections as they organized it in the Discord feedback section. So, first up, manual secondaries. Manual secondaries actually seemed like a good concept. The shells were floaty, but you had a decent reload. This felt like a good addition, and it could be tweaked accordingly. Again, a lot of people complained about the range or the caliber, which really wasn't the point of the test because that's stuff that can be changed. I think it's a good addition, and I like that the CV has to manage damage control party finally while they're doing it. Recon mode. Alright, so they took away the thought process of flying certain ways to spot destroyers on your way to attacking a larger ship. At least that's what it felt like. But in retrospect, you should be dropping into recon mode during that flight path so that you can spot those. I didn't do that during the test. It just I don't know. I just couldn't get into the rhythm of doing that. A lot of that probably had to do with there being only 6 people at a time most of the cases, but that's water under the bridge. Conceptually though, recon mode is a good addition because spotting does need a change. I just wonder if it could be done in a better way. Manual AA. Manual AA seems so stupid from both perspectives of a CV and a surface ship. From a CV side, I didn't really notice its effects, and maybe that's just because people generally don't hit their priority sector button. From a surface ship perspective, I really hated this. It's such a dumbed down thing. You press one button and you deal a burst of damage, and it doesn't seem like it did anything. Even more so, it's not even something that you have to aim at all. It just does it in your aura in every single direction. I really hate this feature as it reduces the interaction between the two players even more. I personally feel like if you're going to keep something like this in, it should be broken into more sections, like 6 different sections of your AA surrounding your ship. It should maybe have a slightly delayed initiation and a better noticeable effect to the enemy planes. It should just be something more interesting because it did not seem interesting at all the way it was. Automatic AA. Now this was good, at least conceptually, right? It is absolutely brutal getting focused out by a CV, especially if you're a battleship. Battleships need help against carriers in a couple of different ways, and this is definitely a good change. That said, I'd like to see that progress bar fill up faster for the ship that is getting attacked relative to the other ships that are also shooting at the planes. I don't know if you can do that by maybe using the potential damage tracker or a different system. The reason I say this is because the bar didn't seem to fill up fast enough or have enough effect, but also it seems a little unfair that all these ships are progressing their bars at relatively the same pace. So I feel like if I'm getting attacked, my pace should be higher. Again, that stuff can be tweaked, but conceptually, I think automatic AA is a good idea and I am all for it. Attack mode. I hated this shit. This whole diving down, getting into a different mode, then your attack timer actually starts, was really awkward at first. I get the logic of preventing people from dolphining so that you can spot. That was actually a concern I had when I read the initial changes that were tracked way back, but this just feels super awkward. I wish they would have better indicated to the player which mode you're in by changing the colors of the reticle. So for example, the first timer is yellow and it starts to turn green the closer it gets to the attack timer actually starting. Something like that could really help. Moreover, and you've probably heard this from other videos already, dive bombers and rocket planes really got uncomfortable to use relative to torpedo planes. More on that in just a second, but it just felt like you were spending so much time taking AA when you couldn't really do anything. And that's weird, right? Because right now on the live server, you're taking AA without being able to strike because you have to get on to the target and you have to align it. But in this test, that feeling of being helpless for that time was much more pronounced. It's weird. Even with you taking less AA damage during that time, it was still weird. This really felt like I was playing FDR again with all this extra delays in flying planes now. Another change that it's tied to attack mode is your attack flight planes not being replaced by another plane from your squadron should it be shot down. That overall idea is good because a surface ship should get rewarded for shooting down a plane, and reducing the potential damage you're about to take is an excellent reward. Now, something that happened was that a large percentage of the potential attack was being reduced. If you shot down one Hakuryu torpedo plane, you reduced the potential attack by 50%. So the devs noticed that and they changed Hakuryu planes so that there was more in the attacking flight, so that potentially 66% of your planes could get off a strike, in most cases anyway. So that kind of sheds light on where they could potentially take these aircraft carriers, but that's going to be a lot of work. However, back to what they were looking for, the whole attack mode in general felt really off, and I really did not like the rockets and dive bombers. They really felt like they got shafted. I don't know what you can do here, I just do not like that. But I did again really like the idea of reducing the potential damage by shooting down a plane in an attack. Travel mode. I think this mode is one of the most controversial ones in this test. From a CV perspective, I didn't like it. It felt more disconnected from the game than ever before. They should have really kept your speed indicator and really kept your speed boost in the game. Managing your speed boost on your squadrons, when to save that boost for your attack flights was a skill check for players, and now that's gone. Back onto the disconnection, it really felt like they were fish in a barrel that I chose to attack at my time. It kind of feels like that sometimes in the current live system, especially with a carrier like FDR, and it's really boring. From a surface ship perspective, it felt the same way. I can't do anything to these planes that are flying right above us, and it's completely up to him on when he wants to start the game or the interaction. It also felt like I was doing less against a carrier player. Even though I'm able to mitigate damage that I'm taking by shooting down a plane in the attack mode, it overall felt more disconnected, which is weird. I would like to have my AA constantly shooting at these things, and I'm racking up that damage to aircraft. I don't know, it just felt better before, if that makes any sense. It was nice, though, that ships could take a break from getting spotted constantly. That's huge, and I think that should be a thing, but I just don't like what comes with that. Ultimately, I wish there was a better way to do this, and you can bet your ass I'm going to talk about that at the end of this video. I am glad, though, that destroyers can't get randomly spotted, and that the CV has to enter recon mode to be able to spot. It is a good break for destroyer players, and with a timer, it could prevent a DD from getting perma-spotted by planes. Updated defensive AA. This was also an interesting change. The ability to blind aircraft, it's kind of cool, and gives the ships with defensive AA a cool value for team play. That said, I feel like all ships without defensive AA are just kind of left to be screwed if they don't stick with those AA ships. It was easy to use once you understood it, but I don't know if a complete blinding of the aircraft carrier is the way to go. It's like the ships that are already built to fight aircraft carriers the most are getting boosted. Ships like Montana, Kremlin, Jeeker, Conqueror, I think they're still getting screwed even more. I don't like this thing that's happening here where everything is getting a bit more specialized and battleships are getting more and more screwed with every new thing. And I'm going to go on a quick tangent here because this needs to be talked about. But if you look at what's been released, the target of CVs is more and more being pushed towards battleships. The German aircraft carrier line, Max Immelmann, the rocket delay change, the Russian line, FDR, Malta, the CV support line. All of these generally do better against larger ships from a damage perspective, right? Which is normal, but ships like Midway, Audacious, Hakuryu were absolutely deadly versus destroyers. Now, destroyers definitely needed a break, and the rocket change was a good thing, but it pushes the general CV player population towards targeting battleships much more. So again, I think battleships are getting screwed even more, especially the ones without defensive AA. Defensive AA is a good thing, but also isn't good in a lot of ways. Team play against carriers is not something that happens conscientiously most of the time, and boosting certain ships just directs CVs against the most common targets even more. So overall, there were some good things that came out of this test conceptually, but there's just so much tweaking that needs to happen to make it all work. Some of these things are good, but they come with a lot of baggage. It's hard to determine what this would look like in a real random battle because so many things can be adjusted, and that was actually something that they mentioned on stream. They now have a few more levers to move, to adjust, but I don't know. I will tell you, after this test, I did not want to touch carriers at all, even on the live server. It was completely uninteresting to me and completely removed any passion for playing the carriers, so maybe that's just a win for random battle people. It just felt like there was much less interaction between the classes, and I don't think that's the way to go, so let's get into that. What should be done? Alright, there are three main issues with CVs right now: spotting, the interaction, and AA. More specifically, perma-spotting by a fighter, spotting by the planes in general, the uninteresting and one-sided nature of the interaction between CV and large surface ships, and the lack of AA for most ships. This isn't all-encompassing, as things like no detonation, being able to initiate attacks from the cover of a large terrain, those are certainly issues, just not as big as those three, in my opinion. I'd like to test a minimap only spotting with recon mode. If you want to light up the ship, it can be done for a short duration, maybe like the Soviet radar length. Fighter spotting during the second portion of the test was good. at least better than the live server. But I don't know if them spotting up to 2 kilometers should even be a thing. In addition, to counteract not just spotting but also CV range, I'd like to see fuel mechanics implemented. This could reduce how long a squadron can linger, reduce their range, cut into their time available to do attack runs, and even introduce new upgrades or captain skills, providing some variety. I know I'm not the only one to suggest this stuff, by the way. You're going to hear a lot of things that have been mentioned by other people, even better CV players than me. So I don't know. I think this stuff could definitely be worth testing. Regarding interaction, I would love something more interesting for large surface ships than priority sector, and certainly more than manual AA. Automatic AA is a great idea, like I said, and that should be further tweaked. Manual AA could be tested how I mentioned before, but in addition, I would love to have an option to control large AA guns for a short duration that increases their damage and is highly precise. If that is an option though, I would like more variability for the planes, either through different heights to move between or something else. Regarding surface ship fighters, there's currently too many ways to negate and mitigate them. Pre-dropping, the Russian line, the support line, those are perfect examples of that. I think that ship deployed fighters are currently just near useless. I'd like to see them either be sent out from the surface ship in a particular direction with a delay perhaps, or maybe manually controlled for a short duration, or just placed by the ship captain, similar to how CVs drop fighters, albeit within a certain aura like the range of their AA. I'd remove defensive AA from the battle cruisers and up, and give them these fighters along with that new interaction, leaving defensive AA to light cruisers and down. Finally, I'd get away from the current balancing approach of, oh, you're really good at fighting these ships, so you're gonna suck ass versus fighting those ships. There's just not enough team play in this game, certainly not in random battles, the most common type of battle, to warrant such an approach. I can't stick with an awesome AA boat all the time. I have to go do other things, or their positioning might be horrible relative to what I'm trying to do. Jaeger, Sommers, Shima, there are a lot of ships that should just have better AA. I don't know if this would work or be too much if all the hypotheticals I mentioned already were introduced, but if nothing gets implemented from this rework, at least increase the AA for a lot of ships that have been left in the dust. I would love to see this type of iteration. I think it's a good balance between things that have been mentioned by the community, as well as changes from the dev team. Carriers need to get reworked for sure. If I had to pick between taking everything that was tested or taking none of it, I have to go with none of it. I know that comes off biased as fuck, but that shit was uninteresting and boring. In a battleship, it just made me feel more helpless. And that I can't deal with that. I cannot deal with that. So that's my take on the CV rework. I hope you guys tried it yourself and tried different classes so you can create a better informed opinion. Definitely check out all the vids made by everyone. There's so many out there now, and don't forget to leave your feedback to the devs in the Discord. Happy hunting, guys, and I'll see you guys next time. GG!